I know I need better boundaries. The problem is I just don't know how to boundary. And even if I put boundaries into place, they just don't stick. They don't stay around for the long run. So if this is you, this video is for you. By the time we're done, I'm going to introduce 3 hidden boundary blocks, particularly relevant for good girls, that I don't really see anybody else talking about, but all play a factor in why it is that you can't get your boundaries up and running or make them stick. So stick around. That's what we're talking about today. Hey, it's Jen Silbert here. I am the founder of Good Girl Gone Bold, and I help good girls break free from the conditioning that has found them stuck and holding back and silencing their voice and suppressing their power, and help them to speak up and advocate for themselves and embrace bold as a state of being. Listen, I have seen so many conversations. I have found this in almost every client I have ever worked with, and that is women are smart. They're very aware. They do their homework. I mean, they are more apt to pursue personal development than men are, truth. But there's a gap in between awareness and action and implementation. And this is the messy middle, where boldness is born, where confidence is born. But it's a scary space because it's a place of experimentation. It's not going to be the same for everybody. So let's just start with that. I'm here largely to let you know that I see you, that I validate you, that you're not broken, you're not flawed, and you're not screwing up when it comes to boundaries. But if you don't do something about the boundaries that you know need to be put in place, you're going to experience some pretty dramatic consequences if you haven't already, like burnout, resentment, silence that is affecting very important relationships, as well as your own self-respect, because you're kicking yourself going, I know I need to do this, so why am I not doing it? Well, let's start by acknowledging this gap here, this messy middle, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is that space in between. I know I need to do this, but I can't seem to get it into place. So let's talk about this awareness to action gap, that messy middle space. Now, if you Google boundaries, you're going to find tons and tons of information out there. And it's actually a saturated market because boundaries are just so needed. So many women out there, especially those that are purpose-driven and juggling a lot of things, know very well the importance of boundaries. But what I think, I'll speak on your behalf because I've kind of been there too, is that we kind of start with time management. And that's a very solid place to start, right? We've got to look at managing our time. Maybe the reason I'm so frazzled and I'm scattered is because I'm not really doing a good job managing my time. I got too many things. So let's get the time management apps, let's get my notebook out, color code, my schedule, and everything's going to be hunky-dory, right? But that's not the full solution. When we look at this awareness of, all right, I know I need boundaries. I know I overextend myself. I know I should say no a lot more. But despite using time management, you're still going to be faced with real life issues, particularly in your relationships with other people, that are going to require you to set boundaries. There are so many other, one of my favorite books is Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. Townsend. And this is the first place where I saw the scope of boundaries that go beyond just managing your time, but boundaries in many facets of life that I think it overlooked. And so boundaries, for the most part, are things that you can control. Boundaries cannot be put into place by other people for you, because they are out of your control. Only you can control what happens to you. So when we talk about boundaries, we're talking about just those actions that you yourself can take. So that's foundational boundary building number one, is that boundaries are actions that you have control over. We're now going to go into the next step, which is understanding the 3 hidden boundary blocks I don't think many people are talking about. Hidden boundary block number 1 is good girl guilt. Good girls have become so conditioned to comply, to oblige, that when they can't do that, there is an enormous amount of guilt that they feel for not doing it. And that guilt turns out to be a major blocker. It's not easy for others to understand. Oh yeah, well just, you got to look out for yourself. Don't feel guilty, but think about it. There's been a conditioning that's been running in the background for so many years that when you assert a boundary for the first time, if you haven't understood that this guilt is misplaced, you're going to retreat back into guilt again and again. And that's why your boundaries are not going to stick. Because the guilt feels stronger than the uncomfortableness or the inconvenience or maybe even the disrespect you're experiencing, because you've been so willing to take that all on yourself. So you are more comfortable with depriving yourself than you are of other people. So when we get into understanding the good girl conditioning in this good girl program, we understand that feelings like guilt are very common. They're nothing to be ashamed of, but they need to be confronted, because these are emotional blocks that are getting in the way of you acting on the common sense logic that, oh, I have to reclaim my time and my space in order to do my work, in order to have a break. So I have value, my time has value, my work has value, and it is on par with your value. So when you rise up to respect you and your time and your well-being on par with everybody else, you will find boundaries are going to stick. So we would need to work together on that part so that those boundaries stick. All right, hidden block number 2. This is a big one I don't see talked about a lot, and that is nervous system dysregulation. Now, how do you know if your nervous system is dysregulated? Well, here you go wanting to put a boundary into place, and your mind says yes, but your body says, oh my God, absolutely not. Please, no, no, no. So it does what? It freezes, it flees, it gets angry and fights back, or it fawns, which is people pleasing. So until you understand that your nervous system is preventing you from making this change, you will remain stuck in nervous system dysregulation. And as a result, you're either never going to assert your boundaries, or the boundaries you do assert are just not going to stick. So what can you do? This is where we would talk more about things like somatic or mind-body practices, like calming and pausing to breathe, to tap and shake out the energy blocks that are in the body, to discover any trauma that is hidden underneath, that bubbles up and is triggered when you confront someone, to set a boundary. And this is very sacred space. It's part 3 in my Bold Girl framework, which is rewiring the good girl brain. And here is where we cultivate some deep self-compassion and understanding. This is how we have acted in order to survive. And it may go back to a person, a circumstance, an event that was very harsh, traumatic. It may go back to dysfunctional family relationships like enmeshment, where you weren't allowed to have an opinion of your own. And if you were to step out, then you were blacklisted from the family. You were shamed or guilted. And until we can work to heal that part of your past, then your boundaries are not going to stick. I want to inject a quick story here of the first time that I ever asserted a boundary, and it was pretty messy and ugly. And I remember exactly where I was and what was involved, and it was my coming out of sorts, where it was more than just the first time I set a boundary. It was the first time that I spoke up for myself. And I had been suppressing emotions and abuse, basically verbal abuse from a certain someone for so long. It just was bubbling up and bubbling up. And so when it finally came out, it just vomited. And I just yelled, and it was very physical. And I quickly just fled the scene, because I was so afraid of the repercussions. But it was like a dam had burst. And you don't want that to happen, because that will damage relationships. So when I come to the end here, I'm going to give you an acronym that will kind of sum up a lot of the steps here that you can remember when you are facing the need to assert a boundary that you can carry on. So somatic healing, mind-body practices that will help to calm your nervous system and to retrain your brain, which in turn will help to calm your body so that you can be in a space of calm when you assert yourself. And that will help you to feel more confident, which in turn will mean that your boundaries are more apt to stick. And we want sticky boundaries. And the third hidden boundary block are internalized rules. And this is very common for the good girls who have been conditioned to be more concerned about other people's feelings than their own. Again, this can go back to a trauma, whether it's a small trauma, a series of small traumas, a big trauma, but it's going to go back to a pattern of compliance where you've been afraid to step out on your own and to assert yourself because you're afraid of the repercussions. You find that this is a threat. You don't know what's going to happen. Is somebody going to hurt you, yell at you, reject you? And so those internalized rules, aka conditioning, are a huge boundary block. And those are a sum of the three. And we can't ignore that because these are very real. They're unique to you. I see you. I hear you. I feel you. And that's why I am doing what I am doing in Good Girl Gone Bold. So now what do? You know all this. Can you actually start asserting boundaries before you do all this other work and understanding the internal conditioning and so forth? Well, yeah, you can. And the key is to start with micro moves, bold mini moves. In fact, I just created a playbook. I'll put the link below. It's $2.99 as we speak, and it's 10 bold mini moves that you can take to boost your confidence and your boundaries in the next 7 to 10 days. There is a lot of practical advice, practical action in there, but a bold mini move that you can take every single day to help you to start developing the muscle of asserting yourself. I'd say that my number one tip here in starting with micro moves is to not start with a hard no. That will feel as uncomfortable as parenting a toddler who is just discovering this word no and can't stop saying it. No, 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 no. People will not respond as well. And it's one thing for you to assert yourself, and it's another to persuade someone to oblige and respect your boundary when you put into place. So hard no's are not a good place to start. So what can you do instead? Well, try these 3 quick scripts. Number 1, let me get back to you. And the next one would be, I like, Because that's a power pause. To just collect yourself and think about this. Go, I need a moment to think about it. Okay, don't waffle. Just say, I need a moment to think about it. I'll get back with you. And that gives you space to collect yourself before you respond. And the third one is just flat out, it doesn't really work for me right now. Thank you very much. This doesn't really work for me right now. Now, to help you in your journey to start asserting yourself to say no without sounding like a bitch, I have a freebie. I link that below, and it's called Say No with Confidence, and it's 15 kind but firm scripts that you can use to say no and mean it. Down in the link below. Pick it up. It's a great place to start. Have a script in hand so there's no confusion about what to say. And the purpose of all these resources in this video here is so that you can start taking action but feel safe while you're doing it. So summing this up, I want to give you an acronym that might help you to remember what I've said so that when you're in the moment and you need to assert yourself, you need to respond to somebody and put a boundary into place. I use the word bold because, hello, good girl gone bold. And I usually find that it works for almost everything, but let's break this down. B is breathe and listen to your body. You're in the moment. You're wondering, how can I assert myself? I'm feeling a little shaky. My nervous system is starting to act up. You just breathe and listen to your body. If you need to step away before you respond, if you need to just take that deep breath and that will like de-escalate your body's nervous response, then B is for you. Always to own your truth. Remember that your time, work, and well-being is of the same value as everyone else. So own your truth and honor that. It will make it much easier for you to move into implementing those boundaries that you know you need to put into place right now. L is for language that fits you. I've ascended in this journey to setting boundaries and asserting myself. So I don't have any problem anymore with just flat out saying no, although I usually don't. Even with the people I love, it's usually, no thanks, no, it doesn't work for me. And no over-explaining, not a problem. But L is for language that works for you. Wherever you are in the journey, whatever feels comfortable and still gets the job done, use that language. And D is to deliver it with confidence. No over-explaining, no over-justifying, stand up straight. Don't start pulling into yourself when you finally assert that boundary because it doesn't show confidence. So just deliver it with confidence and know that you have value, that you are breaking cycles, that you are worthy, that you are enough, and you are seen and loved just as you are. So we'll leave it at that. So tell us in the comments, what situations do you encounter that are the hardest for you to set boundaries? Or what is the hardest thing for you about setting boundaries? And let's just have a real conversation and get some collective wisdom here, because boundaries are your biggest power move as a bold girl. And I want you to start them today. All right, we'll see you in the comments.